by side, ready to go. The Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach 2022.
Get ready. Green.
Wastes no time, drops the hammer and just dumps Newgarden. And look at Palou fighting for position. What does Newgarden do here in the brake zone?
Rosenquist trying to decide which way to go. Almost 3 wide from Alexander Rossi. 2x2 through turn 1. So far, so good as they head into the fountain.
Dalton Kellett slammed into the tire barriers. Hinch, he is out of this race.
Almost by the time he came into the camera view, he already had that inside front locked up.
Here we go. In the draft, heading down to 1. Is Rossi close enough this time? Will he be more desperate? Yes, he is! They collide! Is there any damage to Rosenquist's Arrow McLaren Chevy?
He was going to force Marcus Ericsson to get his tires dirty, but into turn 6, Marcus Ericsson goes down the inside and executes a beautiful pass on Alexander Rossi.
He's going to the primary. He's out. Watch for Colton Herta in the blend. Ericsson will come in behind him.
Here comes Newgarden, here comes Colton Herta, and it does not look to be even close. Newgarden with the advantage, but he's on cold tires. Trouble in the hairpin for Scott McLaughlin.
Championship leader has to flick it around.
That was some handy stuff right there.
He's coming up behind Tatiana Calderon and just clips the inside wall.
Right rear.
Group wants to see Colton Herta on the wall.
Colton
Turn 9.
Will not defend his race win.
And here we go on the brakes. Bit of a hits that bump there, bottoms out, big brake lock, and just was just holding on. I mean, could not get that tire. You see how aggressive that bump is.
It is.
Lifts the tire off the ground, it locks up, and off you go.
There's Joseph Newgarden making that long trip down pit lane off the button as Alex Palou's coming down shoreline. You're going to see a blue race car come into focus here. Head to turn 1. There's Palou in the blue car. Here's Newgarden. Newgarden.
John Black, no pressure behind.
Gotta push. Can Newgarden hang on? Where will Palou make the move? Into turn 4. He's not close enough. And that's dicey through there anyway.
Yeah, wait till turn 6. Joseph, he's going to try it in 5. This could be bad. Slight contact.
He's on the outside for turn 6. It's power to Newgarden here at this left-hander coming up.
Some overtake. Still there.
These guys know that this is the battle for the win right here. Newgarden needs to get tire temperature to hold him off. He's almost home free here, Kinch, in terms of tire temp. Here comes Palou for another run.
My goodness. 5 trouble, guys.
Simon Pagenaud is in the garden, side by side with Takuma Sato for some gardening work right at the fountain. Here we go. Joseph Newgarden at the head of the field. Has Alex Palou got anything for the Team Penske driver? And Chevrolet going for 3 consecutive wins in a row. Can Honda spoil the party?
This is where Romain Grosjean is going to have some advantage in this slower section on those red sidewall tires that come from Marcus Ericsson in the wall. He keeps it going, but that will be game over. And he takes out Dixon.
His teammate hits him from behind. Marcus Ericsson, when everything was looking so good, smashes the wall. Got a great run.
Who's hit with 11 on push to pass.
Got a great run. Palou makes it hard for the Frenchman. Grosjean wheel to wheel with the Spaniard again. Now he's going to try and squeeze him over a little bit. Power to Grosjean, second place. With 11 laps to go, make it 10 from here. Big crash, Jimmy Johnson and rookie David Malukas, turn 8. What kind of a launch off turn 11 does Joseph Newgarden get? His team president just said he's so pleased with him. Grosjean's looking antsy. He wants to go with him. The
green flag.
Wants to go, but Grosjean gets an excellent launch to go with Joseph Newgarden. Will he have enough to make the move at the restart?
That's a great jump. Push to pass is disabled for 2 laps, or for 1 lap, after a restart. He's going to try to make it work on the outside. Those front tires are going to be good on the brakes, but Joseph holds him off as Pato O'Ward goes by Scott Dixon.
Pato O'Ward with the big send. Now this was the tricky part of the track on the last restart for Ericsson. Watch these guys just dance carefully through here.
But now we see Takuma Sato on the wall in turn 8. Oh no, with 2 laps to go, are we going to finish this thing with caution?
Joseph Newgarden is a Long Beach Grand Prix winner.
Long Beach, guys. Long Beach. It's been a while. Thank you.
Watch the Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama Sunday, May 1st at 12:30 p.m. on NBC.
And with that, welcome to episode 21 of the Push to Pass podcast. This is Derek Vance, and joining you as usual, along with myself, is Joshua Roberts. Josh, how are you this evening?
Oh, feeling better. You'll notice my voice is a little weird today, but getting over sickness the last couple days. But I'm excited. I'm excited about this week, and Long Beach is going to be a great race, I can tell.
Yeah, absolutely. It is race weekend there, as you just mentioned. It is the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach there at California. So it is race weekend. Excited to have race weekend here with us. Yeah, let's throw the schedule there up on screen. You see we've already went to St. Petersburg. We went to Texas, and now we are now in Long Beach as we will start things there on Friday, I believe. We'll look at the schedule here real shortly. I believe it's Friday's first practice, so we'll be able to check things out from there. But yeah, let's take a look at what we're going to be handling this weekend here in Long Beach. Did you see the track map right there in front of you? Taking a look at some of the track facts that we have here for Long Beach. Again, race weekend, April 14th through the 16th. This is a 1.968 mile, 11-turn street course. This course is going to run clockwise. Distance, Josh, we're going to be running this week 85 laps or 167 miles. All of the drivers are going to have a total time of 200 seconds of maximum push to pass parameters, and every time they push their push to pass button, they're going to get 20 seconds of activation. The teams are going to be allotted 6 sets of primary tires, 5 sets of alternative tires, and then rookie drivers are going to be allowed 1 extra set of premium or premier tires for that first practice session. Taking a look at the entry list for this race this weekend, Joseph Newgarden, Scott McLaughlin, Pato Award, Elio Castroneves, Felix Rosenquist, Alexander Rossi, Marcus Ericsson, Scott Dixon, Alex Palou, Marcus Armstrong, Will Power, Santino Ferrucci, Graham Rahal, David Malukas, Connor Daly, Renus VK, Colton Herta, Kyle Kirkwood, Roman Grosjean, Devlin DeFrancesca, Jack Harvey, Christian Lundgaard, Stingray Robb, Benjamin Peterson, Simon Pagenaud, Callum Ilott, and Augustin Campino. Round out the entry list for this weekend. Josh, anything that you want to touch on here as we discuss and preview the race coming up this weekend at Long Beach?
Oh, stacked race. Can't wait. This will be the first time I've ever watched a race at Long Beach. I'm excited to see, as we've touched on in the past, I'm newbie at this, and each and every track we get to fascinates me even more. Fascinates me sometimes, but I'm used to going 500 miles on all the track on the IndyCar track here in Indy, but that amount of laps and how it adds up to less than almost 200 miles is a little weird to me, but I think it's going to be fun. I think the people out in Long Beach are going to get a great race, and here's hoping Pato can get his first win for the year.
Yeah, I would love to see Pato get off the schneid there, as he has been, runner-up in the first 2 races of the season. We'll get into race picks probably this weekend. Follow Twitter, Push to Pass on Twitter for those. As you were watching, though, opening up, last year's winner was Joseph Newgarden in the number 2 Hitachi team at Penske Chevrolet. The pole sitter for last year's race, believe it or not, was Colton Herta in the number 26 Gainbridge Honda with a time of 1 minute 5 seconds, 1 minute 5 seconds, 5 seconds, 0.30, with a speed of 108 miles an hour. The record qualifying lap there at Long Beach is held by the aforementioned Colton Herta with a time of 1 minute, 5 seconds, 0.30. And again, his speed was 108.480 miles an hour. Let's take a look at the track schedule here this weekend, as we'll throw that up on screen for everyone. As you see, practice number 1 is going to be Friday at 6 o'clock p.m. to 7:15 Eastern Standard Time, so that's local time here in Indianapolis. And then Saturday morning, we'll get up and do things all over again from 11:45 to 12:45. And then we'll have the first round of qualifying on Saturday there at 3:05. And then the second group will go out about 25 minutes later. And then we'll get to the second round of qualifying at 3:45 p.m. And then we'll get to that last Fast Six, as they like to call it there, at 4:05. And then Sunday, we'll get up around noon, and we'll have the half an hour warm-up session, and then the green flag drops there at the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach at 3:30. So definitely exciting to say the least. Can't wait. We were talking off air, hoping that Pato can stop being the bridesmaid, and he can be the bride for once, as he has been oh so close the last 2 races, just having a little failure in the car, just coming up a little short at St. Petersburg, and then you had the caution come out in Texas. So hopefully he will be able to again not be the bridesmaid, but be the bride this time around. We'll be joined here in about 10 minutes or so. Gentleman that's been on the show here before, making his return. For people that listen to IndyCar Radio, you're going to definitely pick out this voice. But Mark Jaynes is going to be joining us to discuss a little more about Long Beach, and then maybe we'll get into some other topics here as the show unfolds. Wow. So be prepared for that. Also, too. Mike from Bet Indy had a prior obligation, so he will not be joining us this evening, but he did want to pass along to follow Indy Bets, I believe is his Twitter handle. He will be sending out the odds and his bets this weekend as soon as he gets them. So anything, Josh, you want to go over? As I see, you have to be one happy camper there, but anything you want to go over here before our guest joins us?
No, I mean, I'm excited. Like I keep saying, I'm excited about this year. This is a great year for IndyCar. Push to Pass podcast is pushing forward episode 21, or as I would say it, the Desmond Howard edition of as my co-host over there rolls his eyes. But this is an exciting time. Long Beach is going to be a fun time. Kind of sorry Mike's not going to be able to be on the podcast. We always love talking to him. But Mark Jaynes is going to be an awesome guest. I had the privilege of sitting on a bicycle, a stationary bicycle, talking to Mr. Jaynes a couple of years ago as I was coaching for Monrovia football, and just picking his brain on different things of the IndyCar circuit, and the wealth of knowledge this man holds is just, it's out of this world. At one particular time, he was juggling being the head coach of Monrovia and also being a full-time radio host. And I can't wait to have him on. Can't wait to pick his brain, talk about Long Beach, see what he thinks, get some insider on insider information on how the teams are going. And as we trek closer and closer to May, which is going to be a fantastic month this year.
Yeah, that definitely is right around the corner. We have this week's race at Long Beach, and then we're in Birmingham, Alabama, in a couple weeks' time. And then when that calendar flips over, for people that are IndyCar fans, when you see that calendar tick over to May, you can only think of one thing: the greatest spectacle in racing. That is the 107th edition of the Indianapolis 500. But before we get to all that, I do want to tease a story coming later on in the show as well. Our pal who was had a couple prior obligations pop up, so he hadn't been able to join us recently. But we may be seeing a familiar name, not only on this podcast, but potentially being the next entrant into the Indianapolis 500 in May. So that's what I'm going to leave that at. So glad to see that this individual may be able to try to make the 500 again. But we'll talk about that more here after Mark Jaynes joins us. Yeah, we'll go through. We'll let him introduce himself a little bit, because he has a long litany of things that he has accomplished in his life. And then we'll pick his brain a little bit about not only the small IndyCar season that we've had so far, just 2 races, but we'll pick his brain about Long Beach as well. And then I think Josh has some other questions for him outside of racing that we'll get into as well. So Mark will be joining us here shortly. Just taking a look at some of the other news stories while we wait here. Let me pull. Let me go over to my screen here and pull this up. But unfortunate circumstance, Josh, this week. I don't know if you've seen this or not, but the wife of AJ Foyt, Lucy Foyt, passed away at the age of 84 this week. So definitely our condolences to the Foyt family on the passing of AJ Foyt's wife, Lucy Foyt, at 84. And then also too, a couple things I know we touched on the last time that we were together. But from all indications, from what I'm seeing and what I've been reading, is that not only Catherine Legg, but Linus Lundqvist, who tested at Texas after the race on Sunday. It seems like both of their tests went really well. Catherine is going to obviously be running, I think the fourth Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan racing car or entry in the 500. And we don't know right now what the future holds for Linus Lundqvist. If you remember last year, Josh, he was I guess it's labeled now, the Indy Next champion in 2022. But Linus is still looking for that ride.
Yeah, Linus is showing promise. He showed promise in the practice from after Texas after the race. Hoping he can catch on a full-time ride probably next year. Get a couple rides this year. Once again, as you were talking to the Foyt family, our prayers go out to them. Truly, probably one of the pillars, one of the cornerstones of that family. AJ's wife passing away, and I feel bad for him. I know how it is. I've never lost my wife, but I know how it is to lose a loved one. Losing my grandfather was hard a couple of years ago. I can't, but like I said, our hearts go out to the Foyt family, and just a tragic thing that happens in life. But Yeah, I'm at a loss for words.
Yeah, it stings. Obviously, I know Roger Penske put out a statement. He says, "I've known AJ and Lucy Foyt for nearly as long as I've been involved in racing. So much of AJ's racing success was rooted in solid foundation of love and support that Lucy provided for him throughout his career. Racing can be a tough business, and AJ was not immune to the dangers drivers often face. It was Lucy who was always there to help AJ navigate through the hard times and get him back to his winning ways. Most importantly, Lucy's comment to the Foyt family, commitment rather, to the Foyt family is her biggest legacy. Keeping the family connected allowed AJ to focus on being one of the greatest race car drivers of all time. I truly believe that it would have been hard for AJ to achieve all of his on-track success without Lucy." So, like we said, huge condolence goes out to AJ Foyt and his family on the unfortunate passing of Lucy Foyt. I do see that our guest has joined us. He has made his return back to the Push to Pass podcast. Like I said, if you listen to IndyCar Radio, this man has been a staple on there for quite a long time. Mark Jaynes joins us. Mark, first and foremost, huge thank you for taking some time out of your busy day. I know you've had interviews all day, pretty busy, but thanks for making your return. And before we get into IndyCar, unfortunate news that we were just talking about with the passing of AJ Foyt's wife.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the first lady of the family for sure. And behind every good man, there's an even better woman. And certainly was that. And the outpouring of sympathy and support for the Foyt family, I'm sure, gives them strength and courage that they need at such a difficult time. And all of us at IndyCar Radio and throughout the entire racing community give our best wishes to the Foyt family for sure. What a wonderful life that lady led, a full life. And again, such a tragedy, and we'll approach the race at Long Beach with heavy hearts. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's going to be interesting to see what IndyCar decides to do as a tribute before that race on Sunday. But before we do talk about Long Beach. Mark, we've had 2 races so far, and me and Josh are both in agreement that maybe this will be Pato's week this week to be the bride and not the bridesmaid.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the longest time in the NTT IndyCar Series, we've talked about the big 3, meaning Ganassi and Penske and Andretti, and I think for all intents and purposes, you have to add Arrow McLaren to that mix as well. I think, obviously they upped their game during the offseason with the addition of Alexander Rossi. And I think conventional wisdom tells you that there may be more changes to come. Going to be interesting to see how it all shakes out when Alex Palou eventually does join that organization and how that deck gets shuffled. But until then, it appears as though the jaws are firmly locked. And that team is poised to compete for race wins and certainly for a championship. And I think the Indianapolis 500. I think if you go back to last year, Pato, the thing that impressed me beyond his ability as a driver was the vocal support that he showed and was not too shy about the fact that he wanted Felix Rosenqvist to stay right where he was. He had Felix's back as a teammate. And, in an ego-driven sport where guys sometimes are team players and then they strap the helmet on and they might display otherwise, or maybe they display otherwise behind the scenes, he never wavered in his support. And I would like to think that was, part of the decision-making process that led to Felix staying. And as Davey Hamilton, our driver analyst, and I have talked about, when you add personnel, especially in a high-profile position as a driver, it is not always a good fit. I mean, chemistry is a real thing, and no matter the sport. I think you could probably ask the Dallas Mavericks in the NBA a little something about that. And so, there's no guarantee that adding Rossi was going to immediately result in them being a much better race team. But I think at least through the first couple of events, it appears as though that's exactly what happened. And I think, that's a rock solid operation, obviously a world-class organization. And I think they're certainly championship contenders for the course of the season. And with Pato, as you well know, it's not a matter of if he wins a race, it's when. I mean, he's just that good, and he's going to get a win at some point this season.
Yeah, that was my pick at the beginning of the year, not only to win the points championship, but to win the 500. I was so impressed with the amount of money and attention that Zach Brown has put into this IndyCar team, building the stable that he is. And, I think one could make the argument, as you pointed out, about the big three being Ganassi, Penske, Andretti. My honest opinion, and I could be in the minority here, I would take Andretti out of it the way they've performed lately and put Errol McLaren in that last third spot.
Yeah, well, certainly they've had their struggles over the past couple of years for sure. But certainly that's one of those teams that, you go into a place like Long Beach and, Michael obviously had success there as a driver, and he's had success there as a team owner, as he has as a lot of places. But, yeah, I think if you just look at the overall stability of the operation, I think you make a great point. And I can tell you this. The announcement was made prior to Texas that there was going to be some shuffling of race strategists, that Brian Herta was going to go over to the car for Kyle Kirkwood. And and Scott Hartner was going to take over, the race strategy duties for Colton. And Colton was pretty matter of fact about it. But our Nick Yeoman talked to Brian Herta, and he was downright frosty. I mean, Nick tried to start off with a lighthearted approach by saying, "Hey, when practice started, did you accidentally go to the wrong pit box?" And Brian said, "No, I went to the right pit box." And that was pretty much it. I mean, there was no back and forth about that, and it was 1 or 2 word answers. And so I don't know that was a move that he was definitely in favor of. If I could have read his expression, and Nick shared his body language with me. So, going to be interesting to see how that shakes out over the days and weeks to come for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Andretti has to, do something to shake the deck up, as you said, because they can't continue the lackluster performances that they're getting race after race. You talked about going to Long Beach this week. Joseph Newgarden, the defending champion. Give us your thoughts, Mark, on how you see Long Beach and what we could see this weekend.
Well, I think the usual suspects are good there. I think what we're seeing develop, and I talked to Marcus Ericsson about this at prior to the Texas race. I said, most guys win a championship and then they cross the Indy 500 off of their checklist, but he decided to go ahead and get that Indy 500 win out of the way before he won a championship. So I asked him, as cerebral of a driver as he seemed to be, and I mean, if you go back to the 500 last year, all throughout the course of the race, there were 2 or 3 drivers that were swapping the lead, and every time you looked up at the leaderboard, there's Ericsson running 4th or 5th. And then he got down to the last stint and he hit the button, was in a position to win. And you go back to the season opener at St. Petersburg and how, he ran in the top 5 all day long. And then you've got McLaughlin and Grosjean have the incident in turn number 4 and take each other out. And then Pato O'Ward has the plenum issue 2 laps from the finish. And that hands the win over to Marcus Ericsson because he was in the right place at the right time. And I think he's kind of developed a Scott Dixon-like approach to knowing when you don't have the car to win, but knowing how to massage it and get it home with a top 5 or a top 4 and pile up some points. And if you look at the incredible season that Will Power had last year, Will won 1 race, and it was the week after Indy at Detroit. That's the only time he went to victory lane. But obviously he's a master at qualifying, so he gained valuable points by grabbing pole. but I mean, he just was consistently in the top 5 all season long. And I think Marcus Ericsson feels very much like that's what it's going to take to win a championship this year. So knowing that wins are so very, very valuable in a quest to win a championship, I think in a competitive situation on a track that sometimes can be very difficult to pass, guys are going to take chances where 4 or 5 years ago they might not take those chances. And I think that's what resulted in some of the carnage we saw at St. Petersburg. I mean, your margin of error is so small when it comes to having a chance to lead a race and win a championship. And you know, obviously with the car counts up a little bit, space is at a premium. And so I think all of those things combine to make qualifying very, very important, so you have the chance to start up front and maybe avoid some of those issues that you run into at racetracks that are tight and unforgiving.
Before I turn things over to Josh, I think you brought up an excellent point. You know, we opened up at St. Petersburg, and we had a record number of entries at St. Petersburg, and as you just pointed out, the massive carnage. I think that everyone witnessed there. Do you feel that we're going to see the same type at Long Beach on Sunday?
No, we very well could, especially in turn number 1 and around the fountain. I mean, you know, we had some issues there. I mean, for gosh sakes, you know, we even had a car end up, you know, with a flower bed around the fountain last year because of how tight and competitive things were. I think, you know, once you clear turn 1, by and large, the only other place that really becomes tricky there is the iconic hairpin. Other than that, the runoff area at turn number 9 is very forgiving, and, you know, guys overshoot it there. If memory serves me correctly, on approach to that turn, there's a little bit of a bump that has been there over the years that have, you know, caused the drivers some discomfort. So, you know, I mean, they're warned throughout the course of the weekend to, as the old saying goes, take care of one another. They're told in the drivers' meeting on race day, and Davey and I jokingly kid about this all the time. You know, they're given very specific instructions by the race director on race day morning, and they all nod in agreement. The disconnect doesn't come until they put the helmet on, and then they forget all about that conversation they had in the drivers' meeting. So,
yeah, it definitely seems like that. Well, Josh, anything you want to ask Mark here? As we have Mark James, anchor of IndyCar Radio, familiar voice when it comes to racing, and then high school sports as well.
Oh, I've got a plethora of questions, but thank you for coming on, Mark.
Sure.
You're one of the prides of Monrovia High School.
Thank you.
Probably the second best person I know coming out of Monrovia behind John Standiford.
Oh yeah, well he's had a fair list of accomplishments himself for sure. Yeah, John's on our coaching staff, as a matter of fact. He coached football for a number of years, and now he's a boys' assistant basketball coach, and he helps his girls' soccer team out too. So yeah, John's a great guy.
Yeah. So Mark, I'm newer to IndyCar this year. I'm taking on the full schedule of watching all the races. Growing up in Indy, the only races I really watched was the Indy 500. And a question I asked most of our guests when they come on: what can IndyCar do to better advertise to better get their product out there? It seems like they have the product that's there. They're just not pushing it as much.
Well, I think a lot of that is up to their television partner, and I think NBC probably has upped the game in that regard more so than any television partner they've had in recent memory. I mean, you know, during their marquee events, their other sporting events, I think NBC has done a phenomenal job of letting folks know where and when they can find the race. You know, they have drivers make appearances on some of their signature show, like today, and NBC Nightly News, and you know, I see a lot of ads for coverage. I know from our perspective, our partner SiriusXM has upped their commitment. I mean, not only are they carrying all of our IndyCar Next practices, qualifying and racing shows, but they're carrying all of our IndyCar shows as well. And we've even, you know, come up with vignettes where we, you know, recap old Indy 500s. And I do interviews with drivers, kind of a get to know type segment. And when we have 15 or 20 minutes between shows, instead of leaving programming, they stick with our programming. I know you look at the commitment that Penske Entertainment makes to promote the race at Detroit throughout the course of the year. I mean, it's literally a 24/7 promotional commitment. I think Green Savory, as a racetrack promoter, has done a phenomenal job in all of their markets. I think if you look at the Penske Entertainment commitment, along with Hy-Vee to reestablish Iowa as a phenomenal doubleheader weekend and provide the kind of entertainment that you normally only get in strictly concert venues. So, Rome wasn't built in a day. And the harsh reality of it is there's a tremendous battle for the entertainment dollar. I mean, you now have 3 professional football leagues. And I'm not making the comparison that the USFL or XFL is anywhere close to the NFL, but that's still a battle for the entertainment dollar. And it's going on at a time when normally IndyCar wouldn't have that as a competition. I mean, you look at last weekend, we had a very good race at Texas Motor Speedway. But by the way, we had the women's Final Four in Dallas-Fort Worth that weekend. And Taylor Swift was playing, at 3 concerts and 3 nights at Texas Stadium. There was a sizable PGA Tour event in town at the time, and the men's Final Four was just 3 or 4 hours away in Houston. So it's a constant battle for competition. It's a constant battle for recognition and attention. And I think the series is doing the absolute best that it can to raise awareness for the series. The 100 Days show that's going to be on the CW and also live streamed, I think is going to be huge. If there were no attempts being made to increase visibility and increase, audience and try to attract a new audience, I would be concerned. But I think they're doing as much as they possibly can, and they're always looking for new and fresh ideas. And I think that's indicated by the 100 Days show that's going to air very, very soon.
Very, very good analysis there. Me, for one, I think that if they could get and I know this is weird, the major betting outlets more into it. NASCAR has cars that are sponsored by MGM, Caesars, the Wynn. I think if they could get those more out there, I bet the sports betting world would bring a large portion of fans to the product. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I think the attempts are constantly being made, and I think the efforts constantly being made. Let's face it. I mean, the if you go back to the split, it provided the perfect environment for NASCAR to experience incredible growth, and it took full advantage of that. I think in some respects it's come back down to earth a little bit in that regard. I think that gap has closed mightily, but there's still more work to be done. And I think if you look at how sponsorships have changed as pertains to the NTT IndyCar series, I credit our teams, because while there's certainly the big fish out there like NTT and Verizon, and for instance, Alexander Rossi had Napa for a number of years, and DHL has now become synonymous with Andretti and Gamebridge as well. I mean, AJ Foyt had ABC Supply for all of those years. I think while it's important to try to land those big fish, and a lot of those sports betting properties are among what I would call big fish, I think this series has done a really effective job at attracting regional sponsors, which allows them to come up with a suitable budget, but they're maybe rotating 6, 7, 8 sponsors through the car over a course of a year. I mean, I remember, excuse me, a couple of years ago at Detroit, because of the fact that those cars are shrink wrapped now instead of painted, Graham Rahal had a different sponsor on his car on Saturday than he had on Sunday, because, that's the way the contract works. So, while certainly the desire is there, and I think as the series continues to grow and gets more recognition, that makes it a more attractive property to those companies, as you suggested, and would make them, realize that it's a viable property where they can benefit from it.
Okay. One last question for you, Mark. In the way of tracks, do you think IndyCar should branch out into other tracks, even go back to tracks may have been to before but haven't been to in a long time? Maybe Brooklyn, Michigan. I know F1's getting ready to do a big race in Vegas, a street course. If that were to pan out really well for F1, you think IndyCar could go and try to do one in Vegas? I know it'd be a big expense, but I think that would bring a lot of eyes to the sport.
Well, I think that question gets asked so much and suggested, and everybody has their wish list. I mean, I would say that at the top of my wish list would be a return to Watkins Glen. I think it's a living history museum, and quite frankly, I think it's where IndyCar belongs. And I could see us, especially with them being a television partner, I could see an IMSA IndyCar weekend being hugely successful at Watkins Glen. But I would suggest that anyone who is pining for a return to a track, it needs to look at the approach that Chris Blair and the folks at Worldwide Technology Raceway undertook. I mean, their efforts, they landed, which I think is the most significant part of the puzzle as a track promoter. They went out and landed the Bommarito Automotive Group, which is one of the largest automotive groups in the country. And they were on board with it. And all throughout the course of the year, when they announced the return by the IndyCar series, they were at every track and they were taking notes. And it was, planned over a 2.5 year period. Same thing with the promoters with the race in Nashville. They got all the dollars and cents together as a promoter. They got all of the investors together, and they got all the corporate sponsors together. Same thing Penske Entertainment did when they landed Hy-Vee to bring us back to Iowa Speedway. So, there are a lot of tracks that IndyCar would like to return to. I think what you'll see as time goes by, the business realities, because of the access that Roger Penske and Bud Denker and their group have to corporate America, I think you'll see the series take a more active role in being a promoter and assisting with promotions like they do at tracks like Iowa and like they do with all of our partners. And so I think once that commitment is made, they'll go to tracks where they can find the financial support necessary to put a race on, and they'll do it in a manner that makes sense, and one that they're going to be able to promote and not only get eyes on the television, but certainly get tickets sold for sure.
Yeah, thank you, Mark.
Yep.
Mark, one last thing before we go. I know we got the Long Beach this weekend. If you have it in front of you, you want to recap everyone what your schedule on the IndyCar Radio side looks like for this weekend. If you have it in front of you.
Oh, I did. Well, as you said, I was doing high school basketball coaching interviews all day today. And, I was looking at it right before we went on, and I could tell you, let's see, and don't hold me to this. I think I'm pretty close, but 3 o'clock Pacific, 6 o'clock Eastern time, we'll have coverage of the first practice session on Friday. That'll be me, Davey Hamilton, and Alex Wolf. And then I believe it's 11:45 Pacific time, which would be 2:45 Eastern, would be the first practice session on Saturday. And then I think there's only about a 2-hour break before we go qualifying. And then, of course, that's the knockout qualifying format. And then I want to around noon Eastern. On Sunday, I'll have the final warm-up session. Then I think it's around 3:30 Eastern. We take the air for flag-to-flag coverage of the race. And do not hold me to those times specifically, please, and thank you.
See, look at that. Basketball interviews all day. That's why he's the best in the business. But,
Pure professional right there.
Absolutely. Mark, again, as always, a huge thank you for joining us. I look forward to seeing you in maybe about 1 month's time as the calendar turns over to May. Everyone knows what that entails. But before that, we have 2 other races to get to. But, Mark, thanks as always, and have a good call on Sunday.
Guys, thanks for all you do for us. At the radio network, thanks for all that you do for IndyCar and racing in general. And just please feel free to reach out anytime. Always happy to join you.
Thanks, Mark.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mark.
Keep up the good work. Take care.
You too. Yep. That was Mark Jaynes, anchor on the IndyCar Radio. If you didn't pick out the voice, yep, he is the anchor on the IndyCar Radio. Good stuff as always. Make sure you check out their broadcasts all weekend. IndyCar Radio, IndyCar app, and then as he said, Sirius XM has their broadcast there as well. A couple things, Josh, to get to. Before we get on out of here and wrap up episode 21, let's hear from some of the participants this weekend that have previewed with us Long Beach. Let's get to those.
I'm excited for Long Beach. It's my favorite street course race. I love going to California. That's where my wife is from. So half of my family is in California, and I look forward to it. Like I said, it's my favorite track. Just enjoy driving it. We have a really good street course package, so a lot of confidence for that track. Obviously, the position that we are, I think if I'm second, I'm going to try to go for first. Not really thinking championship at this point. So it's going to be an exciting weekend. I'm going to give it my A+ game.
Hey, it's Benjamin Peterson, driver of the number 55 AJ Foyt Team Chevy car. Long Beach race weekend, very excited. My first ever time racing at Long Beach. Learning a new track. Very excited. It's going to be an awesome atmosphere event, and historically the team has done pretty well there. So just getting caught up to speed as quickly as I can and push as hard as I can and see if we can deliver a strong result.
Looking forward to Long Beach. Haven't raced there since 2019, so rather excited to be back. Hopefully the track hasn't changed too much, but as long as we don't make any mistakes this weekend, I think the team will be in really good shape, and we will keep building off of what we were learning in St. Pete.
Long Beach this weekend. I've been looking forward to racing here for quite some time. One of the races that was circled on my imaginary calendar as a race that I was really looking forward to, and an iconic race, obviously. I've always wanted to race here. I genuinely remember thinking about racing here when I was in maths class back at school with my laptop, googling visor cam onboards. And now it's cool. I'm heading there to race this weekend, still watching the same onboards as I was when I was a kid. But it's going to be cool. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a fun experience. And I just want to hit the ground running, much like we did at St. Pete, just sort of maximize what we have early on and just get into a good rhythm. And I know that the Chip Ganassi racing package is going to be fantastic as always. So it's just up to me to drive the wheels off it.
All right, Long Beach this weekend, super excited. One of my favorite events. Won the championship there in 2021, and we were really strong last year as well. So coming from a podium at Texas, which was great for the 10 car, and hopefully we can snag the first win of the season. So see you there on track.
Huge thank you to all of the drivers that gave us a little bit of time as they previewed the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach coming up this weekend, the race on Sunday. So huge thank you to all of those drivers for their insight. Before we get to news and notes, Josh, we do need to thank a couple of the sponsors of the show that make it possible. First, Always Ready 1776. If you're looking for amazing patriotic apparel, headwear, and anything else, go check out alwaysready1776.com. And also, if you do find something that you like and you want to buy, make sure you use the promo code that you're seeing up on your screen, push to pass, for 10% off of your order. alwaysready1776.com. Also, too, if you're in the market for any home design, build, or remodeling needs, remember it's Get 'em Associates Incorporated. If you do need a home remodel, which I know Josh has been talking about, I know he's going to go to Get 'em Associates. And when he does, he is going to use the promo code that you are seeing up on your screen, push to pass, for $250 off design services. Remember, it's getem.com and alwaysready1776.com as well. Josh, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty here in episode 21. Let's take a look at some of the news and notes. I know we touched on a little bit earlier, but we also teased one a little bit earlier as well. And, we've been talking about the amount of cars that are being entered in these street courses here. We got, I think, 28 this weekend, and you've seen the record amount we had at St. Petersburg just a few weeks ago. But the Indianapolis 500, we can see it on the calendar. There are currently 33 entries, if memory serves me correctly. But, Josh, news coming out this week that we could see a 34th entry in the Indianapolis 500? Yes. As we inch closer to the 107th edition of the Indianapolis 500, the NTT IndyCar Series is making full use of its qualifying procedures. With 33 entries in place for last year's race, the NTT IndyCar Series had no reason to run through the extra qualifying sessions to determine which entries would be bumped from taking part in the event. But with 33 more already locked in for the May event, an announcement of a 34th entry could be coming. Although both parties have been unavailable for comment, the Able Motorsports Indy Next team and father-son pairing of Neil and R.C. Enerson, yes, Push to Pass podcast own R.C. Enerson, are understood to be working together to give Enerson another shot at making the field in a Chevy-powered car. A 5-time IndyCar starter with Dale Coyne Racing, Carlin Racing, and Top Gun Racing, the talented 26-year-old Floridian attempted to qualify for the Indianapolis 500 in 2021 using a new Dallara DW12 chassis they purchased that was built and ran by Top Gun Racing. Despite failing to qualify, Enerson and the team returned a year later to take part in the second Indianapolis road course and afterwards. The Enersons would eventually reclaim their primary chassis and the spare from Top Gun Racing to begin planning for their junior open wheel standouts' next IndyCar move. Based in Speedway, Indiana, the hometown of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Able Motorsports has been a staple of the USF Championships presented by Cooper Tires and the Indy Next by Firestone series. Led by open-wheel veteran John Brunner, Able Motorsports had a breakout weekend to begin the season at St. Petersburg in March, where Jacob Abel challenged for the pole position and won before finishing a career-best third. With a long-held ambition of reaching IndyCar, an Able-led effort for Enerson would follow in the recent tradition of Juncos Hollinger Racing, Meyer Shank Racing, and Peretta Autosport, who made their IndyCar debuts at the Indianapolis 500 before expanding their respective programs to part or full-time efforts. So it's definitely exciting news here, not only in the IndyCar world, but the Push to Pass podcast as well, Josh, is potentially, again, nothing has been put in concrete yet, but potentially our own R.C. Enerson could be challenging at the Indianapolis 500 this coming May.
That would be awesome. I can't wait. if RC isn't in fact able to get a ride and be able to get out there in May and try to make that make the starting grid for the Indy 500, I'll every day I go out to the track, I'll wear an RC Enerson shirt just to spread the word of our fellow podcaster that he's out there, and I'll root my lungs out, because I don't think anything would be cooler than knowing somebody personally that has been in the that has driven in the Indy 500. And heck, you never know, he could win. That would be awesome. We could have him on the next week, and we could have an Indy 500 winner on, and from there it'd be a rocket ship, as Derek Schultz would say, rocket ship to the future. But we will be rooting on RC and hoping that he's going to get his ride.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely going to be keeping tabs on that story. And we wish RC all of the support, and hopefully, we'll be able to see him out there when we go out for that first practice session in the month of May. Hopefully we'll be able to see RC Enerson out there on the track. And as you said, how cool would that be? If you have not done already, as you see down below, if you want to follow the Push to Pass podcast on a variety of social media outlets, just look down below there, the scroll, and just follow whatever social media outlet you respond to or on the most, and you should be able to find the Push to Pass podcast there. Also, too, I know our yearly picks. Josh is up 2-0. I got to make up some ground, and hopefully that starts this week. We will put out our picks for the race right before the race there on Sunday. So stay tuned, or stay glued to Twitter for that. Also, too, Mike wasn't able to join us this evening. He had a prior obligation, but he did want to pass along that check out his Twitter page at IndyBets. As soon as the odds and lines come out for this weekend's race, he will definitely be on them. Before we put a big bow, Josh, on this episode, anything else that you want to pass along?
No. I'm good for tonight. We did a really good job of wrapping up, of getting Long Beach ready to go. Can't wait. Maybe you and I can get together and we can sit and watch the race and have some hot wings or something. But it's gonna be an exciting weekend this time. And I can't wait for us to be talking about Long Beach this time next week, and then moving on to the next race and marching our way towards May.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot to come, a lot to unpack as this weekend unfolds. Again, stay tuned to the Push to Pass podcast for all your racing updates, and then when this weekend comes, all the weekend updates there as well. I also want to thank Mark James, anchor of IndyCar Radio, for joining us. Make sure you check out his call along with Davey Hamilton and the rest of the crew there on the IndyCar Radio, on the IndyCar app, and Sirius XM. So that does it for episode 21. For Derek Vance and Josh Roberts, huge thank you for everyone that is going to tune in and listen, share this far and wide. And as Josh said, we'll be back in 1 week's time, putting a big bow on the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach. So until next Tuesday, so long, everybody.